Hey there viewers, it's Charlie, I'm back again. And after those Action Masters I've been reviewing recently, seeing how that just figures that don't transform so they're a bit mundane, I've decided to review a more exciting figure. So, today's review is the 2001 Robots in Disguise Optimus Prime. Oh my god, this figure is amazing. Even though this is only a recent figure for me as of the time of this recording, this is already one of my most favorite figures of all time. Well, here we can see that Optimus Prime is a fire truck, which Cybertron Optimus Prime would later transform into. Although, unlike with Cybertron Optimus Prime, this guy looks way more believable as a fire engine. Because, well, Cybertron Optimus Prime just had a little bit on the back that could detach. Whereas with this guy, it's all built in. Well, for the vehicle mode at least. It does come off of robot mode, but we'll get there when we get there. Now, having a look at the detailing, here we can see that it says Cybertron here, which is, well, that's the Japanese name for the Autobots. Here we have some Japanese lettering that probably also says Cybertron. I don't know, I don't speak Japanese. The tires say Fire Convoy, which was actually this guy's Japanese name. Here we have the Autobot insignia. The back tires, which sadly don't have any markings on them. Going around to the back, we can see some detailing, which, if this figure came out today, would probably not even be painted. Coming around to the other side, here we can see that one of the tires is actually missing. And that's because, as you can see, the tires on this figure can come off really easily. And I have no idea why it does that. And another complaint, here we can see a visible head. That's not the main robot head, but it's a head nonetheless, and you'll see what that's for soon. Finally, we come around to the actual front. And this guy doesn't even have a front grille, because, but he does have the big Optimus Prime-esque windows. Probably bigger than most Optimus Primes, actually. That's pretty much it for this figure's detailing, although we do have some gimmicks. First of all, coming up to the ladder, there's a red button up here, and if you press that, it flips out these little water cannons, which serve no purpose other than to look cool. And another ladder related gimmick is, we have this button at the back, and if you press that, it flips out these missiles, and sadly I am missing one of them. But if we fire all of the missiles that I have, if I can just find the trigger for this one, there we go. So yeah, they do fire hard and fast. Although thankfully none of them have went behind my shelf, so I'm able to retrieve them quite quickly. And well, from what I can remember, in the Japanese release of the figure, when you did that gimmick, instead of you having to fire them manually, the missiles just fired automatically. I've never seen that. I've never seen the Japanese figure, not even in video, so I don't know how that looks. But on the on the imported version of the figure, or well, the American and European versions, it doesn't fire unless you do it manually. Coming up to the last of the gimmicks, well, here we can see there's a button here, and if you press that, of course, we get sirens. And the light bars do, well, light up. So yeah, he does have sirens, because come on, he's a fire engine, but he also has...
Optimus Prime, maximize.
Well, he said he can actually speak as well.
Autobots, transform. Optimus Prime, maximize.
Now, there is another sound feature, although these appear to be randomized, so who knows when we'll hear it.
Fire.
There we go. So, in order, well, there's not really an order, but the sound effects are
Autobots, transform.
him commanding the Autobots to transform,
Optimus Prime, maximize.
him quoting Optimus Primal by maximizing,
Fire.
firing probably the missiles, and
Autobot, fire.
there we go. And finally, the sirens. Now, there's actually both a short and a long version of the sound clip. The short version only having the siren thing once, and the long version having it, I don't know, 3 times.
Optimus Prime, maximize.
Don't worry, we'll get to that soon. But, for now, I have a comparison to make. That comparison being with his brother, Ultra Magnus. Now, these guys are both quite big, so it's going to be hard to get them both in shots. Oh. I'll sort that wheel out later, but here we can see Prime and Ultra Magnus. Of course, in the show, these two are actually brothers. And if you've seen these figures, you know something they can do in robot mode. But we'll get to that in another video. But if I get Ultra Magnus out the way, and also get Prime out the way, I have something else to show. Of course, the box. And right off the bat, yes, this box is completely hammered. And we can see what looks like catalog ads in there. No, I guess the guy just used that for filler when he shipped this, but... Well... having a look at what's left of the box, we have Prime and, well, Super Modes. It does spoil the Super Mode, but there you go. Fire Truck to Robot. Robots in Disguise. Electronic Optimus Prime Fire Truck. Level 4, so it's supposed to be advanced conversion. Ages 5 and up. Requires 2 LRO3 batteries. Having a look at this side, we've got Prime in both his Super and Vehicle modes. Well, the top doesn't really have anything. The back, which shows, well, the back actually shows a little text spec. We will put out the fires of evil. So Prime really wants to stop arson. I mean, that is a really bad crime, so... But as you can see, it looks like all of his stats are 10. And here it says... Optimus Prime will use all his wisdom and courage to fight with every last spark of energy to defend Earth from Megatron's evil plan. Unlock new lights and sounds by collecting Ultra Magnus and combining him with Optimus to create Omega Prime, the fabulous ultimate transformer. And I promise we will get to Omega Prime in the next video. Combined for new lights and sounds. And if you want a sneak peek, here is Omega Prime. Oh, up here it says something else. Megatron and his evil Predacons. No, not the Beast Wars guys, sadly. But Megatron and the Predacons arrive on Earth with one goal. Destruction. This causes a secret force of goodness to emerge. The heroic Autobots, led by Optimus Prime. They have hidden their existence by taking the form of vehicles, but now they reveal their true nature to fight Megatron and protect Earth. They are the Transformers, robots in disguise. And the underneath, which is just a bunch of illegal information. But yeah, from what I can remember, the actual Robots in Disguise series, they did emphasize the Robots in Disguise aspect. But, well, that's pretty much it for this guy's vehicle mode. So, if you'll excuse me, I have to raise my camera, because this guy's probably going to get quite tall. Okay, now, to start this guy's transformation, well, you actually have to take this guy apart. This can be easier said than done, because this guy holds on really tight, but it can be managed. There we go. And as you can see, these bits came off as well. Then I guess it doesn't hurt to rip these off as well. And then take this bit off and split these. We'll get to them later on. But for now, we're left with the front cab bit of the fire engine, and this is Prime's standard vehicle mode without the stuff. And as you can see, unlike with Cybertron Optimus Prime, which could still form a vehicle and the back bit was removed, you really need the other bits to form a full vehicle mode with this guy. But to get him transformed, there we go. To get him transformed, take these flaps here, fold them around, then take these little bits and fold them to the front windows. Break the entire figure in half. Well, not like that, but just split that bit there. Activate the sound thing by accident. And just straight up unfold him. Come in here, split this. And yes, the front of the vehicle forms his legs this time. I mean, it is unique, sure, but this is one of the only Optimus Primes I can think of where the actual front of the vehicle, windows included, form the legs. Sure, Movie Prime had most of the front form the legs, but he also had the back bits attached on as well. But come in here and just compress that down to show his head, which on my figure is quite loose because it's on a ball joint. Come in here, move these bits up and out the way. Take these bits, move them down, and just move the sirens so they can form little wings. Move that down. And that forms his arms. And here we pretty much have Optimus Prime in his standard robot mode. So yeah, pretty unique transformation. And a pretty unique take on Optimus here. I mean, for one, even though the actual front of the vehicle is here, we still have the faux windows, like every Optimus Prime has. Like, not the faux part, the windows part, but you know what I mean. And his head, well, sure, it does look like Optimus, although the side antenna do look a little bit different. So So, yeah, this is definitely a unique take on Optimus. I pretty much have nothing else to say, so let's have a look at this guy's articulation. Head, of course, is on a ball joint, so it can swivel, it can look down, it can... sadly, I can't really look up. The arms, of course, can move around. Got elbows and sideways elbow action. I think the wrists can sort of rotate. I'm not sure about that. And of course, T-posing, which is a must for every figure. Because, as you all know, every good figure has to T-pose. Got some waist articulation. This can actually move up to accommodate for that. But he does have waist rotation. The legs can move up. Go back. Once again, this can move out to accommodate. Got knees. These can rotate. And he actually has a ball joint in the feet. So he actually has some ankle swivels. Which is pretty rare. And definitely appreciated. So yeah, this figure by himself is definitely very poseable. But keep in mind, this is not all he has to offer. Because remember, we have all these parts. And well, to get one little mode out the way, as you can see, we have what look like these little rocket pods here. Well, if you come in here, move this bit out, and fold in the wheels, that gives you clearance to actually attach these onto his shoulders as rocket pods, which is awesome. So if you want to have this going on, then go ahead. But that's not the main gimmick. However, before we get on to that, let's do a comparison with his bro. So, bring back Ultra Magnus. Get Prime standing. And as you can see, if we have Prime in a standard robot mode, Ultra Magnus is way taller. But if we get Ultra Magnus out the way for now, let's get on with this figure's main gimmick. If you saw in the box, this guy does have a super mode, so let's get on to that. Although, it can be quite fiddly to do. So, to start off, I'm going to take these bits, which were the bits that were so hard to get off in vehicle modes, and pretty much just unfold them. Like so. As you can see, these holes... Well, as you can see, these holes will attach onto the figure's arms. If I can remember which one goes on which, but... Oh, and keep in mind, they are ball joints, so they can come off easily. And as I suspected, I had this on the wrong arm, so... So we'll just grab this, get this arm ready, and just attach it. Yes, thank you. So now he's got like a huge gauntlet on his arm. Do the same with the other bit. Just attach that onto his arm as well as another huge gauntlet. Shut up. But yeah, he does. So he does don these huge gauntlets, and I think in the show these were called like fire knuckles or something. I'm just going by what I remember. But next, come into what was little rocket pods that I showed earlier. Come in here, lift that up. If you can, flip this bit out. There we go. It's best to just poke it from underneath. There we go. Do the same with the other. And then what these can do is Prime can just wear these like huge boots. There we go. And I just come in here and lift the entire figure up again. And he's getting taller. Next, come into the bits that had the Autobot insignia. And just try and get that onto his arms. Oh, I forgot. You actually have to pull the arms out first, then attach them on. I don't know if I had that on fully, but yeah, we'll go with it. And finally, with this bit, come in here, take what was the ladder bit, hit your camera by accident. But turn that around, get this out the way. And I guess this bit does move out the way too, so if you want to have to go off to the side, you can. But we'll come around to the back and we'll just drop this on. I'll do this off camera because it'll be easier to do. And well, after much blood, sweat and tears, mainly sweat and no blood thankfully, Optimus Prime is now in his super mode. And it turns out I did forget a step. What you're supposed to do is flip the ladder around all the way, so it makes clearance for when you drop this on, because there's actually some little pegs there that it latches onto for the super modes. But well, here we have Prime in his super modes. And that is quite fiddly to do. The main bit being, well, the main fiddly bit being trying to get this entire section on. Because if you don't have things on the right way, well, things can just get in the way. The sound feature can just toggle and taunt you. And the shoulder bits can come off quite easily if you're not careful. But once you eventually get this guy into his super mode, oh my god, he is amazing. I mean, sure, he does have an entire ladder hanging off, but other than that, this guy looks amazing. The sound feature can technically still work. Although it is a bit covered by the ladder bit, but you can still get to it. Now, pretty much the head for this figure, or well, the head for the super modes. As you can see, it's turned red instead of blue. And well, just like with everything else, it looks awesome. It looks badass. And this was the head that was showing in the vehicle mode, unfortunately. Yeah, why they didn't hide it, I'll never know. But here you can see, instead of the window chests, he now has this. Well, he has this bit. And I think that's supposed to hold the Matrix in the show, from what I can remember. As you can see, he got... Well, he's got some new shoulders, some new arms, and he's got some really cool boots. Now, for this guy's articulation, it's pretty much just the same as the smaller figure. I mean, the head still swivels, although it's not on a ball joint now. But the arms, and the legs, and the waist are just like how they were. So, I'm not going to show them off again. But what I am going to show is the size comparison between his brother. Taking a look at Prime with Ultra Magnus now, they're roughly around the same size. If anything, Magnus is just a little bit taller if you count the wings there. But that's not all these guys can do. If you remember the box, these guys do have another gimmick, which we'll see in another video. But for now, these guys look really great next to each other. And well, that's pretty much all I have to say about RID 2001 Optimus Prime. I mean, complaints, I do have a lot of them. For one, the tires can come off a bit too easily in the vehicle modes. And that can get a bit annoying when you're trying to move them around. Another issue is sometimes he just doesn't hold onto the parts that well in vehicle mode, and they just come off by themselves. Another issue, the fact that the sound gimmick can be pressed a little bit too easily, so you'll be hearing the sirens and Optimus Prime, maximize, when you're just trying to get to the super mode, which I guess the maximized one is a bit appropriate, but well, to think of more issues, the super mode itself can be a bit complicated to try and get to if you don't know what you're doing, because bits can just come off by themselves if you're not careful, and if you don't have this bit transformed correctly with the ladder positions, then there'll be a few issues. But aside from that, I do love this figure, and it's one of my favorite Optimus Prime figures, next to Cybertron Optimus Prime and Laser Optimus Prime. So, do I recommend him? Well, definitely. Despite those flaws, this figure is still really cool looking. I cannot even speak. This guy looks so cool on a shelf, especially with Ultra Magnus. Although, if you have the two together, you can do something else, which I'll show in the next video. Well, this has been my review on RID 2001 Optimus Prime. And this is Charlie Young, signing off.